Welcome, Star Citizens. This video is about the stats of vehicle weapons, vehicle missiles, vehicle modules, vehicle itself, and how to see them and use them in the Erkul life calculator. So this is not about what's currently the best loadout for a ship. As well as you see, the loadout that I'm having is definitely not the best for a Gladius. I use it simply for the purpose to explain what each of these stats here mean. So that's why are we here. First things first, thank you for this beautiful tool that is offered by Erkul.games. Please become a Patreon, donate, make sure that these keep on giving us all those love. Okay. So we sent this love back. Make sure you do that. Everybody appreciates it because this tool is truly amazing. Good. So you choose a ship. In the things, I'm not going to explain you how the Erkul works because that's a whole different thing to look into, and I think there are plenty of videos about that. It's really about the stats. So you select your vehicle. I took the Gladius, and we can look into first what kind of ship it is. It's a light fighters, combat carrier, the size, crew size may be important whether you play solo or with other people's body, nose, and total health pool that it actually have, the dimensions, the mass, SCM, space combat maneuver speed. This is the green. On your HUD you see there is the green line meets the red line. So when you're on that line, that's maximum space combat maneuver speed. If you want to know more about the HUD, I made a separate video on how where I explain the HUD. You see it in the links below. Max speed, that is outside of atmosphere maximum speed. Pitch yaw roll speed in degrees per second, important thing. Hydrogen capacity and quantum fuel capacity, and with all modules, weapon, or whatever you got, always down there where you actually can buy it and to what price. So this is pretty amazing to have that information all on here. This is the overall information that summarizes everything you build it here. You can either move it from burst DPS or sustained DPS, which changes this number and gives you a clear information. So this is all your guns together, all your missiles damage together, the shield, health power, regenerating health power, how much power you actually have and how much you actually use. So I use way too strong power plants for this build, so it's not needed. Same as the cooling, and how much regenerate cooling you have per second. That's all good information. The EM, electromagnetic signature, the IR infrared signature that you have in here, and you see how this is congregated together as well with the cross section you're having. Okay, we see here a minus of 50% physical damage, so this means ballistic bullets will do less damage to our ship. Weapons. Let's go over to weapons and what they actually do. We have different type of weapons. We have ballistic weapons, we have repeaters, we have laser cannons, laser repeaters, we have distortion cannons, and a lot more. I'm not going into too much detail of those because it's not relevant for this video. Again, it's about the stats, but there are some you need to lead. Ballistic weapons like the Mantis GT20, they use bullets, so they penetrate the shield, they can go through shields, they hit directly the hull. These are very useful. For example, you have a small ship like Gladius and you get attacked by a Corsair, which is like pretty much your death. But if you have one of this ballistic gun, you just go and cut off a wing. Well, you need to aim well, but cut off the wing of a Corsair and then you have all the time to take it down because it can't aim to you anymore. Or you cut off the thruster of a cutlass. Hard for them to actually deal with the situation if they only have one thrusters. Okay, then laser repeater, laser cannon. There is a difference between them. Laser repeaters have faster projectiles, a bit less damage, and the laser cannons have a higher damage but slower velocity, which means Against nimble, small ships, you want to have laser repeaters. Against bigger, stronger ships, you bring laser cannons. And of course, this all can change in the details of the numbers. Again, that's another reason why we do this video, because I want you to understand how your stats work. So no matter how the numbers will change, you can always find out how you want to build the ship and what's best for you based on your play style. So that's the whole point again of what I'm doing here. Distortion cannons, distortion repeaters. We have basically this distortion cannon, the sucker punch, and the distortion repeater. They differ in how much sustained damage they do. Again, my preference would be the XJ3 model, because it has less damage, that's true, but it has a way higher distortion that it actually creates than the sucker punch. So I would take the less damage, but for the purpose for the gun, because the gun needs to destroy the components, and this is what distortion weapons do. They don't penetrate the shield. You need to take down the shield first, and then you start shooting with the distortion cannon, and distortion shutdown damage that you create will impact the modules, and as more distortion shotgun damage a weapon is doing, the faster the modules will be taken down, because each module has a distortion resistance. Okay, so you need to take down that, and then when you have fully taken down, it takes a certain amount of time till the module has regained its capacity and its usefulness again. So that's how you use, or what are distortion repeaters for. Okay, so now let's go into details of the stats of weapons. First, it's the size, it's S3. That's the Panther that I'm using here. Ah, well, sorry, I might need to add. So you can as well install mounts. This is for gimbaled weapon. I don't use gimbaled weapons, so I don't put on gimbaled mounts. So I just use things because I want to have the higher damage, because gimbaled weapon might be easier to use, but they have a lot less damage, and therefore I'm not using it. I prefer to learn to aim, and I really recommend everybody to learn to fly without gimbaled weapons, using locked weapons. Okay, so you see here the weapons, size 3. The size, DPS burst, DPS sustained. So the difference between those two things, the DPS sustained and the burst, is sustained is the total DPS when you shoot continuously at a stationary target, and it takes into account the recharge time, and it assumes you only start firing again as your capacitor, your clip, is fully recharged. The burst DPS is the once shot and hitting all your shots until you run out of ammo. So that's the difference. The full load damage is how it shows just how much damage you do when you shoot all the weapons at the same time in a specific amount of time. Alpha damage. Alpha damage is the average damage per bullet. So each bullet here makes a damage of 60. Okay, the difference between alpha and DPS damage is DPS is damage over time. So the question is how long you can shoot, and and alpha is about one single shot. So that's the difference. So you want to have torpedoes, you want to have a very big alpha damage. Okay, that's what you want to have on a torpedo, and most of the other thing DPS is to prefer. The fire rate, 500 rounds per minute, that's pretty much explanatory. The capacitor regen ZD is how much delay it is when you fully emptied your clip until it starts to regenerate. The capacity rec ammo load, I assume that's how much energy is needed to fully reload it, and the required regeneration is how much energy is actually needed to regenerate per second. These two are assumptions. I'm not fully sure about those. Then we have the ammo speed, the velocity of the speed, so how fast the bullet is actually flying. This is a very important number. Again, faster against nimble ships, maybe less damage there. Slower, usually more damage against slower ships. Okay, the ammo lifetime goes together with the ammo range, so it flies 1540 meters maximum range, and it reaches this in 1.1 seconds. This means after that they pretty much they drop off and don't fly it again. They have no impact damage anymore. I usually recommend to use your gun by half of this distance. Okay, so you want to shoot here around 700 meters. That's a good range to use this weapon. Pellets per shot, there's one bullet coming out. The spread and the tactic day, this is more for shatter guns, so like shotgun kind of weapons that have a big spray. And this defines this defines the spread in a conical way and how much it spreads out. It's very little here because it's obviously a single fire gun and not a single fire bullets after bullets and not at the same time more than one projectile. So that's the different thing. Power request time. When you turn something on, it doesn't reach full power immediately. The power draw request time is as long as it takes to ramp up the power to the maximum rate. There is none here. We have other modules where you can see this. Power to electromagnetic signature. Well, to understand, everything that consumes power will generate an electromagnetic signature. In normal circumstances, these are the primary contributors to that will be ships' energy weapons, shield generating, power plants, and so on. Everything that uses power creates your electromagnetic signature. So the bigger is that, the more the easier you get hit by electromagnetic rockets. The decay rate is how fast this electromagnetic signature goes down when you stop using any power. So when you stop shooting your weapons, your EM signature goes down in this rate. The temperature to infrared, well, how much temperature it will add to your infrared visibility, which then will shoot infrared rockets will hit you easier and it's harder to decoy them. Okay, then the distortion shutdown damage. How much electromagnetic pulse is needed to take this module or this weapon in this case down for that? So for example, if I have a full hit with a DR model XJ3 distortion repeater on a Panther, it takes one shot and full hit and this gun is down, and it takes 11.18 seconds is the maximum reboot time that it takes to come back. And then you see the health pool of this weapon, so 1024 damage it needs to take until it's broken and you can't use it anymore. So that's about to the weapons. Missiles. We have a couple of different missiles. There are different missiles rack you can choose from, and therefore what kind of rack you use, you can use put different kind of missiles on it. But again, it's about the stats which we are going here for. So there are three different kinds of well, before we go into the stats, we need to understand the different kinds of missiles. Again, electromagnetic weapons, they follow electromagnetic signature, so everything that creates and uses power is this missiles will attract it to that. So the more more power use a ship has, the easier to hit with an electromagnetic weapon. Infrared is a heat signature, so the more heat a ship is creating, the easier to hit them with an infrared like the Ignite 2 missile. Then there is cross-section. Cross-section is an interesting thing. So there are a couple of cross-section missiles. They relies on visual acquisition and identification of a target. The bigger the cross-section the target has, the faster this acquisition of the target is. Missiles and torpedoes that use cross-section target signals lock on the whole reflection of the target, similar to a radar. Okay. The stats of missiles are pretty much self-explainable. Okay, so these are the things: arm time, how long it takes when you pull it out till you're ready to go, till it locks, and all these kind of things. So yeah, I don't need to follow up on that much more. Let's go over to components, and we start with shields. there is, most of it is again quite self-explainable. The size, the health pool of a shield, that's quite important, how fast it regenerates. The physical absorption, well, the physical absorption, this goes against ballistic weapons. So ballistic bullet can penetrate your shield and go straight into your hull. The question is, how much physical damage can your shield absorb to do that? And we have quite interesting hits here. It says 0 from 30%, but we have a minus of 50% damage, physical damage here, which I don't fully understand, but it doesn't matter. It's about understanding the stats and how this works, and everything in this game is work in progress. So let's not moan about little details. Again, this is an absolute beautiful tool, and sometimes I don't understand things. It could as well be me not understanding it, so don't worry about these little things. It's work in progress, and we are all helping to get it to its best bling here, and that's the most important thing. So again, so much appreciating for this amazing tool. Yes, where is the physical absorption? And pretty much, so you have the damage regeneration delay. So you get shot at your shield, it takes 5 seconds till it starts to get up to the 165 seconds of regeneration. When it's fully downed, 10 seconds delay till it starts to regenerate. Power request time, so it takes no time till it starts to build up. So when you land your ship and you shut it fully down and turn it on again, it takes 0 seconds till your shield starts to regenerate, but it needs to power up fully first until you have a full shield again. So that's why pretty much no one turns off the ship when they land somewhere. They just turn off the engine so it doesn't fly away. Okay, so the power to AM it gives, everything's clear. How much distortion damage is needed to take your shield generation? So this would be basically 2 hits with the DRXJ3 model. Again, so sustained TPF is minimal, but the distortion output of this weapon is just really cool. It's fun to play with distortion weapons. Exam, then distortion reboot time and the health pool of this shield. Powerplants. Again, on some layers, pretty easy explained. Size 3, power request time takes a while. Dig. 6,000 shutdown time. You need a lot of bullets to take down this power plant, but if it's down, well, come back in 5 minutes. Okay, so you're pretty much fucked if somebody EMPs your power plant. Coolers, pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, currently not so much needed in the game, but still you need to understand how they work because they're going to be relevant at some point. And yeah, this point will come. I really believe in that. Good. A bigger one is QuantumDrives. So there is more to understand on that. First, we need to understand how a quantum drive works, because not always is the fastest one, the one that travels fastest from one place to the other, really the fastest. For long travels, it is. For short travel, it might not be. So, because the quantum speed is gradually increasing, so we are seeing this on this stage 1 acceleration and stage 2 acceleration. So that's when the starting speed is starting to accelerate, and that's the maximum acceleration we actually can have. So this is gradually getting up there. So if you have a short jump, for example, if you do HRT targets, you jump short distances after the other, around the planet, onto the planet, back to the belt, and then. So you want to have a quantum drive that has a very high stage 1 acceleration, because you want to get quickly onto there. So that's to understand. So not always this number down here is not always the best. If you're a trader and you fly from Crusader to Arcorp, yeah, then this number counts. So get a ship that brings you the hell down there. Okay, military grade, fast speed 251. Have a ship that has enough quantum fuel, a big enough quantum fuel tank that you can do it in one leap. Okay, so this is always then a question on playstyle. So again, that's why we need to understand those stats, so to make sure that you figure out what is actually best for you. Spool time, very relevant. a very fast ship with a very long, very fast quantum drive, sorry for that, with a very long spool time, it needs just up time. Same with the cooldown, okay? Interdiction effect, I think it's clear. Power 2M, all in a distortion shotgun. Quantum drives can be taken out pretty easy, by the way. Just saying, so you know. Okay. Oh, forgot something. SP line drive max speed. That's the speed you have around planets, and this is maybe the last thing we need to know about this part. Now let's go to the power triangle, or setting the power priority. This is something very important. As you see now, you need to have this to be able to change this, the power triangle, as handy, as close to somewhere as possible. I have it on my HOTAS, I have it on my POV hat 2, because you need this constantly, okay? Because you see, as soon as I start moving, you see how the green numbers on the screen start to change. So I'm pushing to shield now. Now the shield is fully charged in 3.83 seconds, which is really needed when you underrun and need to get away, you get to get your ass off the bullets, and you need to recharge it. And at the same time, you see how the DPS is dropping. Okay, so if I push out, we have more DPS, we have more ammo. Okay, of course the ballistic doesn't change, doesn't get more ammo or more DPS on a ballistic weapon, because it's not powered by energy, it's just bullets that are flying around, so cowboy weapon. And so that's the difference. So have this handy. Okay, we don't see much of difference if you pull down to energy, but this is when you thruster, which you are accelerate with your boost, and you space break your ship, gets low, you push it down there, and it refills a lot faster. And you see it takes down the DPS, it takes down the shield regeneration. So play around with this, you need it in flying. It's very, very important to understand this power triangle and to do about that. And for this, I pretty much dived into the stats on how to use and understand those stats of the different weapons and where to buy it. So this is what this video was about. I hope I could help you on understanding this and making sure that in future you and I can figure out and configure great loadouts for ships by ourselves, as we are understanding these stats of each component. Is it weapon, missile, or a module that we want to change onto the ship, so we make sure that we have the perfect loadout for our own way of playing this game. Again, many informations and numbers will change over time. We are still in an alpha. And there are, as I said, a couple of things that I was assuming, and I'm not all knowing when it comes to this. I'm learning almost every day something new in this game, because it's vast and it's beautiful, and it has big depths, which I really appreciate on this game, the depth of it. So if I miss something, or not quite clear, or it's being completely wrong, please let me know and tell me how it is differently. I want to open up for that conversation, because I think it's irrelevant, because I try to bring out useful information, that especially sustainable useful information, that over time people can figure out how to use it, no matter what changes we're actually having in the game. Even if suddenly something get nerfed so much that we can see it in the stats and understand it and adapt and correct our loadout the way it is needed. Yeah, so much for this. Thank you again, Erkul, for this beautiful life calculator. Again, please donate, make sure that it stays free and ad free, and all the money, and we respect all the money that he puts into the game. Please donate and send the love back to Erkul and the great thing he's actually doing. So this is so much for me. X-Wings X was speaking. I hope this video was helpful. Please like, share and subscribe if you want to hear and learn and know and grow into this game together with me. I really look forward to that. 07 Citizens.